what I wanted to talk about was it's a marketing plan that actually is intent on developing just a marketing plan. Basically, what we wanted to do is to market to those states with an increased tax burden. California and New York were the initial states that we considered, but now that Illinois increased their tax base, I think like 33%, we felt that Illinois might be the first state that we would want to target. I did some research on it, went through that Reference USA database, and found that what I could do is look at companies that were generating over $500 million or $1 billion in sales, because by targeting them, they would have savings of $300 million just by moving down to Florida. You know, the tax incentive alone would be enough for them to build new manufacturing and new firms down here. What I did is I was working with my father-in-law, and his name's Alfred Leno. He was president and CEO of Alfred Leno Advertising Agency, and with his background, if you're over it, he actually was active in politics all the way back into the 50s. And what he did is initially started to convert Pinellas County from Democrat to Republican, and that was kind of one of his campaigns that he worked on. One of the people that he actually defeated was William Kramer. He helped him get elected, and what they did was decided that they wanted to work on industrial development in Pinellas County. And when he originally came down, the county commission kind of wasn't interested in doing any industrial development. He finally got them to reluctantly agree, and I think they gave him like $15,000 basically to cover his salary and to mail letters. And what happened was he decided to take that $15,000 and he told the county that he would work for $1 a year. And what he would do is allocate the rest of those resources into a marketing campaign, which he did. And what he did is he went about trying to attract industry, particularly from New York City. I think he said he had marketed in the New York Times, is what he did at that time. And as you can see, he was able to bring Futuronics, Crest Leather, and Baby Butler into Pinellas County. Honeywell was another one I think that he brought down, and Lockheed Martin, he got them to come down as well. In '61, he was recommended from Clyde Keyes, who was a former county commissioner, and I was one of the gentlemen that he helped defeat in his campaign. But the way that Clyde Keyes looked at it is, well, business is business, and if you know Keyes, he was one of the main cement people. You see his name on a lot of those cement trucks. And what he did is he helped to bring additional industry down, and one of the ways that he had targeted it is he went through and decided that he would use silver dollars to pay any of these new manufacturing firms. They pay their employees in silver dollars. And so what they were able to do is they were able to track that money as it went through the county, and he used that. And what happened is a lot of the tourists, because Pinellas County at that time considered itself more of a tourist attraction and really didn't want to grow as an industrial complex or any type of manufacturing. They thought the smokestacks and things like that would really be a deterrent. As far as myself, I moved down here in '85 and started working as a full-time dentist. You know, what I did is had a full-time practice at the time. I continued to work with nursing homes, and what happened was I had 5,000 active patients in my practice, and then I had, I think, contracts with 100 nursing homes, so I was kind of serving two masters. So I had to decide. So what I did basically is sold the practice and ended up working exclusively in the nursing homes. And with that, really, the marketing, from my standpoint, I think I normally spend about $30 a year in marketing, you know, for my services, which has worked out really well for me. But you know, I continue to go to school here, have gone for the last 10 years, and felt that this program, you know, the entrepreneurship program, had several benefits, you know, as far as learning and being able to expose myself to different ideas, you know, like what you had discussed. So what we're doing with the marketing plan is basically what we want to do is approach and market the different tax-laden states such as New York, California, and Illinois. I think our target market initially is going to be Illinois because of the rapid increase in the tax rate. In doing the research, it's looking like we may go after Abbott Laboratories because they have a major impact in Illinois. But in doing the research and checking, there were about 90 different companies that had revenues over $1 billion just in Illinois alone. The structures use all available media basically to inform the industries of the tax burden states and the tremendous tax benefits of the state of Florida. In doing the SWOT analysis, basically the strengths were that the companies would be ready to move, the additional tax benefits, location, including weather, and we have a specialized knowledge base here, I think, in Pinellas County. And the way it's set up, Enterprise Florida is also available to help with state financial backing for the transition. They just passed a bill, I think about 2 years ago now, where they're allocated about, I want to say about almost $15 million just to help with any transitional fees or licenses that would be required to make that. Considered a superior employee base, and then to provide them with governmental support for ease of transition and continued market support. One of the other things that we looked at is that Florida is a right-to-work state, so you don't really have to deal with any of the union activities like we have currently in the state of Wisconsin. Some of the weaknesses obviously would be the new location, new licensing fees, and they may not have an adequate customer base or employee base from which to have. And then the lack of experience, the company may not be experienced in making the transition. So we felt that if we could provide them with a conduit or a method for making the transition, it would work out well. And then inadequate financial backing. But again, I think that the different development commissions that are available will help them with that. Opportunities include the rule changes by government, potential new markets for them, and then export opportunities because of location through the water, be able to provide them with a means for exporting and moving out worldwide. Technology support at a local level. In addition to that, there'd be second sourcing because there are other smaller manufacturing firms in Pinellas County that would be able to help with that. And then favored purchasing at the state level, we should be able to provide them with some benefits, either through state government or through different areas. And then new funding opportunities. I think what we're going to try to do is set up maybe partnerships or some types of agreements with different either government agencies or even banking, so that they can make the transition and get the funding with ease. Again, some of the threats would be the competitive pressure, between the different states, but I think because of the tax base and the current tax rate in the state of Florida, we really should have an excellent opportunity. And we don't, right now, I think is where the window of opportunity presents itself, because if we wait too long, then again, those states will, or the companies will kind of get used to the tax base and the tax rate and be reluctant. And potential negative government regulations. But I think one of the reasons that we want to present to the governor is to ensure that there won't be those negative government regulations that will interfere with that. And again, an economic downturn, with the way gas prices are going, that's a very viable option right now. And then again, if there's any new competitive pressures, what we're looking at is maybe some of the other governors or some of the other states may come in and do that. As far as our competitive analysis, there is no direct competition with our marketing plan. The states of New York, California, and Illinois have some of the largest and highest tax rates in the United States. And the marketing campaign basically is to target these states through comparisons of economic climate and tax impact. Our strength as a state is due to our favorable tax rates and business climate. As far as the customer analysis, the customer would be any manufacturing firm with sales over $500 million, because if you consider that just from Illinois that 30%, well, you take 30% of $500 million that would go to taxes they could use for development and relocation. We have a couple firms that we've continued to identify, and what we want to do is use a targeted marketing campaign to approach those firms. And one of the reasons why we want to meet with the governor is so that we can get his face or his name associated with it, so that would give it a little bit more credibility and strength as well. Our market and target customer, the primary market will be geared to those states, obviously with an exorbitant tax rate, both on a personal and a corporate basis. Target customers would be firms with sales exceeding $500 million, our differential and competitive advantage. The competitive advantage is in having one of the best advertising firms involved in the marketing. And Alfred Lino was the advertising firm that Mr. Lino had previously, prior to his retirement. I told him, wow, the way I was looking at it, well, if we're going to do it, then we should probably restart the advertising firm and look at it from that standpoint, so that if the companies do decide to come down, then we can take care of their advertising needs. Marketing objectives is to provide employment, obviously, for the citizens in the state of Florida. As far as the promotion and overall marketing strategy, we wanted to place some articles in relevant newspapers such as Investors Business Daily, Wall Street Journal, as well as any of the local newspapers in those states. And then again, advertising the appropriate media, outlining the benefits of the relocation. As far as basic distribution strategy, the marketing could be developed to attract specific companies or general industry groups. We can go after an entire group in the industry, or we can find a specific firm and approach them as well. As far as the reaction to competitors, there really would be no direct competitors. There may be some indirect competition coming from the state's approach, either their government on a state level or the governor or something like that. They may want to give enticements to the other manufacturing firms if they decide that they want to go. As far as growth plans, the assumption is that the mere discussion of the marketing program would lead to word-of-mouth advertising and kind of help to perpetuate the marketing campaign, because once the companies know, a lot of the CEOs and major industry leaders talk amongst themselves, and looking like in Illinois, there's a manufacturing association, and it's kind of a sounding board for a lot of the different manufacturers, because that they have they put different notes up there. Specifically now, what I was doing when I did the research, found that a lot of them were really complaining about the tax rate and the increase in the tax base. As far as the financial data and projections, there really is no current financial data to do a comparative analysis. However, the projection would be for a tremendous surge in employment. There are certain methods that could be employed to track the growth. Again, the Silver Dollar program that Mr. Lino had instituted previously, something like that could be used, so that you could kind of follow and show that money is being spent locally and will allow for increase in the economy. The number of new jobs obviously would be another measurable criteria. As far as implementation, the plan is ready to implement following the governor's approval and coordination with Enterprise Florida, which again is a firm that what they do a lot of times is their purpose is to go out and try to attract new industry to Florida. Immediately following approval, a marketing campaign would begin. It probably may take about 30 days to implement, but that's basically getting the ads in the newspaper, developing that newspaper copy, and then probably working with Enterprise Florida to develop a website and a marketing campaign. Evaluation and control, as discussed previously, a definitive method of payment, for example, the Silver Dollars, or another tracking method to help improve and evaluate performance. And then as far as control would come through partnerships with Enterprise Florida, and then also with the local chambers of commerce. I think if we talk to them, and anybody that I've talked to about the program really seems receptive to it and feels that, would really be anytime you can bring jobs to a local area, it's certainly going to benefit